So come see their show. And for more information,
hello and welcome. My name is Jay Gatsby, and this is the story based on American author F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel, The Great Gatsby. It is set on Long Island's North Shore and in New York City in the summer of 1922. We follow the path of a young Midwestern man named Nick Carraway, who's come out east to make his fortune. Once there, he is fascinated by his neighbor's luxurious house and lavish parties and lifestyle. One afternoon, he receives an invitation to come to one of these parties and is consequently sucked into a world of unfamiliarity. Once inside, he experiences all the effects of tragedy, obsession, and the flawed American dream. Thank you, and enjoy.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that not all the people in this world have had the same advantages you've had. He didn't say anything more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved sort of way, and I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. Gatsby, the man who gives his name to this story, represented everything for which I had an unaffected scorn. But if personality is a series of unbroken, successful gestures, and there was something gorgeous about him, some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life. He had an extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness such that I've never seen in any other person, and is unlikely I shall ever find again.
Nick, darling, I'm paralyzed with happiness.
Hello, Daisy.
Nick Carraway, Miss Baker. Nick is my cousin.
Second cousin once removed.
He and Tom graduated Yale together.
did you play football as well?
No, Tom was a football hero. I was just...
Nick, there you are.
Oh, hello, Tom.
Care for a drink?
No, a little early for me, thanks.
Who needs a refresher?
Nick, I've been telling Jordan all about you.
You found the place all right?
It's hard to miss.
Where you staying?
Across the Sound.
West Egg.
A little cottage I found.
Really?
What a strange community. On either side from me are the two huge estates that must go for $12,000-15,000 for the whole summer.
What are you paying?
$80 a month.
Really? Well, welcome to East Egg.
How long you staying?
Until I make my fortune.
Tom will help you, won't you, darling?
I stopped off in Chicago and at least half a dozen people send their love.
Do they miss me?
Oh, the whole town's desolate. All the cars have their left rear wheel painted black, and there's a persistent wail all along the North Shore.
How gorgeous. Let's go back, Tom, tomorrow. You ought to see the baby.
I'd like to.
She's asleep. She's 2 years old. Haven't you ever seen her?
Never.
Well, you ought to. She's...
What are you doing these days, Nick?
Learning to be bond man.
Who with?
Property trust.
Never heard of him.
Oh, well, you will.
Any money in bonds?
Everyone I know is doing it, making lots of money. Well, after coming home from the war, well, the Westfields kind of dulled me. That's why I've come east to make my fortune. Father's financed me for a year.
Where are you from?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
You'll be rich as Midas one day.
I have about half a dozen books on banking and securities and credit. I'm studying all
You'll
the
help
time.
him, won't you, Tom?
Oh, I'm stiff. I feel like I've been lying on that sofa for as long as I can remember.
Well, don't look at me. I've been trying to get you to New York all afternoon.
This'll help.
It is prohibition.
So what?
Besides, I'm absolutely in training.
How you ever get anything done is beyond me.
I recognize you from somewhere,
You said you lived across the Sound in West Egg. I know somebody there.
but I don't know a single person.
You must know Gatsby.
Gatsby? What Gatsby?
He's got that huge mansion that looks like the imitation of the French hotel.
The one with the towers?
Those huge parties.
I live next door to him. Our lawn's practically
In
touched.
2 weeks, it'll be the longest day in the year. Do you ever watch for the longest day of the year and then miss it? I always watch for the longest day in the year and then miss it.
We ought to plan something.
All right. What do we plan? What do people plan? I heard it. You did it, Tom. I know you didn't mean to, but you did do it. That's what I get for marrying a brute of a man. A great big hulking
I hate that word. Hulking. Even in kidding.
Hulking, hulking, hulking. Hulking!
Drink with me, Nick.
All right.
I've got a nice place here.
It's enormous. The sunken gardens.
Belong to Domain, the old man. Come on, I'll show you around.
Don't take him away yet.
Well, I'll show you the ponies.
Please, Tom.
You planning to stay in the East?
Be a goddamn fool to go anywhere else.
This is a permanent move.
They hated France.
How long were you there?
About a year, then we followed the polo circuit.
Drifting endlessly. Parties and yachts and hulking men hitting wooden balls with mallets.
You make me feel uncivilized.
Civilization's going to pieces. I've become a terrible pessimist about things. Have you read The Rise of Code Empires by this man, Goddard?
Why no?
Well, it's a fine book and everybody ought to read it. The idea is if we don't watch out, the white race will be utterly submerged. It's scientific stuff. It's been proved.
Tom's getting very profound. He reads deep books with long words in them. What was that word?
It's up to us who are the dominant race to watch out with these other races who have control of things.
We've got to beat them down.
The idea is that we're Nordics. I am and you are and we've produced all the things that go into make civilization, science and art and all that. Do you see? Excuse me.
I love to see you in my house, Nick. You remind me of a rose, an absolute rose, doesn't he, Jordan? An absolute rose. Excuse me.
So what is it you're in training? This man Gatsby.
Quiet! I want to hear what happens.
Is something happening?
You mean you don't know? I thought everybody knew.
Well, I don't.
Why, Tom has some woman in New York.
Got some woman.
She might at least have the decency not to tell the phone him while he's at home.
Couldn't be helped. I looked outdoors for a minute, and there's a bird on the lawn that I think must be a nightingale. Yes, a nightingale come over on the Cunard or White Star Line. He's singing away. It's romantic, isn't it, Tom?
Very romantic. Before you leave, I want to take you down to the stables. Excuse me.
We don't know each other very well, Nick. Even if we are cousins. You didn't come to my wedding.
I wasn't back from the war.
Oh, yes. That's right. I'd forgotten. The war took a lot of young men away.
I suppose she talks and eats and everything.
Who?
Your daughter?
Hammy. Oh, yes. Listen, Nick. Let me tell you what I said when she was born. Would you like to hear? It'll show you how I've gotten to feel about things. Well, you see, Hammy was less than an hour old and Tom was God knows where. I woke up out of the ether with an utterly abandoned feeling, and I asked the nurse right away if it was a boy or a girl. She told me it was a girl, and I turned my head and wept. All right, I said. I'm glad it's a girl. I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world. A beautiful little fool. You see, I think everything's terrible anyhow. Everybody thinks so. The most advanced people. And I know. I've been everywhere and seen everything and done everything. Sophisticated. God, I am so sophisticated.
10 o'clock. Time for this good girl to go to bed.
Jordan's going to play in the tournament tomorrow over at Westchester.
You're Jordan Baker, the golfer.
Good night. Wake me up at 8, won't you?
If you'll get up.
I will. Good night, Mr. Carraway. See you anon.
Of course you will. In fact, I think I'll arrange a marriage. You know, sort of fling you two together, lock you up accidentally in linen closets, and push you out to sea in a boat and all that sort of thing.
Good night. Haven't heard a word.
I knew I recognized her from somewhere. I've seen articles about her in the newspaper about tournaments at Palm Beach and Asheville. Wasn't there a story about
She's
her?
a nice girl. They ought to let her run around the country this way.
Who oughtn't to?
Her family.
Her family is one aunt about 1,000 years old. Besides, Nick's going to take care of her, aren't you, Nick?
Well, rich girls don't marry poor boys.
Nonsense. She's going to spend lots of weekends out here this summer. I think the home influence will be very good for her.
Is she from New York?
From Louisville, our white girl who was passed there, our beautiful
Did
white...
you give Nick a little heart-to-heart talk while I was on the phone?
Did I? I can't seem to remember. But I think we talked about the Nordic race. Oh yes, I'm sure we did, didn't we, Nick? It sort of crept up on us, and first thing
Don't
you know...
believe everything you hear, Nick.
Well, I haven't heard a word. Good night, Tom, Daisy.
Good night, my sweet one, my dear sweet Nicky. Good night, good night.
Miss Gatsby turned out all right in the end. But it's what preyed on Gatsby. The foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams that haunted me. That haunts me still.
Come on, I want you to meet my girl. Hello, Wilson. How's the business?
I can't complain. When are you gonna sell me that car?
Next week, I've got my man working on it now.
He works pretty slow, don't he?
No, he doesn't. And if you feel that way about it, maybe I should sell it to someone
Oh,
else.
I didn't mean that, Mr. Buchanan. I
Get
just
some
meant
chairs,
to...
why don't you, so somebody can sit down?
Oh, sure.
And try and teach him manners.
Myrtle, this is Nick Caraway. We went to Yale together.
How do you do?
Hello.
I want to see you.
So,